Have you ever peered into those hidden corners of the internet? You know, beyond the usual paths our search engines map out for us, a place where, well, anonymity is king, commerce thrives kind of in the shadows, and where the whole idea of legality just blurs. Today, we're taking you on a real deep dive into that hidden world through the, frankly, astonishing and ultimately tragic story of Alexandre Cazes. He was the brilliant but pretty ill-fated founder of AlphaBay Market. His life isn't just some cybercrime story. It's a really profound cautionary tale from our digital era, a mirror almost, reflecting the dangers of unchecked ambition, the complex moral choices people make, and that incredibly fine line between genius and self-destruction. I'm actually really eager for us to peel back the layers here on his life and the empire he built, to really get at not just what happened, but the surprising why behind it all. I've got a feeling we're going to uncover some truly thought-provoking stuff as we go. So let's start at the beginning, shall we? Alexandre Cazes, born 1991, Laval, Quebec, up in Canada. The picture we get from our sources is of this quiet, reserved, almost unassuming young guy. You know, the kind of person who might just blend into a crowd. A real stark contrast to the flamboyant digital persona he'd later take on. But underneath that calm exterior, there was this profound, almost singular fascination with computers. For Cazes, these weren't just machines. They were, as our sources put it, portals to alternative realities, blank canvases. He wasn't just interested in using tech, he was captivated by the sheer power of bending language, numbers, data to human will, creating whole new worlds. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? For someone so brilliant, where's that line between intense, almost pure curiosity and what, eventually became a destructive obsession?
That really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? For a lot of these silent geniuses, that intense drive to master a system, understand its deepest parts, it's usually a positive force, revolutionary even. But with Keats, it seems like his brilliance came with this restlessness, a desire for a boundless canvas that, frankly, the traditional legal world of coding just couldn't offer him. It's not that uncommon, For minds like that, when they feel constrained to look for paths outside the usual boundaries, the underground, the dark web, it looked like an arena with no rules, a place his skills could be used without limits, for better or, well, obviously for worse. It's really striking how that early fascination, bending data to his will, evolved into building an entire ecosystem designed purely to get around established systems.
And he certainly used that boundless canvas, didn't he? I mean, the dark web already had its legend. Silk Road, it had been dramatically taken down by the FBI, its founder, Ross Ulbricht, locked up for life. Now, for most people, that would have been a huge warning sign, right?
Absolutely, a clear message.
Yeah, like, don't try this. But to Cazes, it wasn't a warning at all. Our sources suggest he saw it as an opening. He saw a void, not failure. So in 2014, using the online name Alpha2, he launches AlphaBay Market. His goal was pretty clear. Position it not just as a replacement, but as a rival to, and eventually better than, the infamous Silk Road.
And he pulled it off, didn't he? It really did surpass it.
Oh, definitely. AlphaBay grew incredibly fast, became this truly vast digital empire hidden away on the encrypted Tor network. Our sources describe it vividly as Amazon for the underworld. Just think about what that means.
Yeah.
A sprawling e-commerce site feels almost legit, but the inventory is all illicit stuff. We're talking drugs of every kind imaginable, common stuff, exotic stuff, plus stolen credit cards, fake documents, hacking tools, even weapons.
Yeah.
And this wasn't some messy back alley digital thing. Sources emphasize it was built with engineering precision and run with corporate efficiency.
Right, it was streamlined, user-friendly, disturbingly professional. And what's particularly striking there is how Cazes obviously learned from Silk Road's mistakes. You can see it. He built AlphaBay with better security, a more solid dispute system, and this almost obsessive focus on keeping it online and reliable. That professionalism, plus the built-in draw of anonymity, it created this illicit marketplace experience that was just unprecedented in scale, in perceived trust. For both the buyers and the sellers, it offered a kind of reliability the dark web hadn't really seen before, made it super attractive, and consequently a much bigger threat. It really shows the huge impact that applying real technical skill, even to illegal stuff, can have.
And the scale of success, like you said, it was just mind-boggling. At its peak, AlphaBay was genuinely a nightmare for law enforcement all over the world. Cazes wasn't just making a profit, he was pulling in staggering amounts of crypto. Estimates put his earnings somewhere between, get this, $9 million and $23 million. Per month.
Wow.
Per month. Think about that for a sec. Millions. Every single month. An empire built totally in the shadows, making more money than tons of legitimate companies, all while Cazes himself was basically unknown to the world. It's almost Yeah, cinematic, isn't it?
It really is, this
Yeah.
hidden king of a digital underworld.
But that incredible success, of course, it had a massive personal cost. I mean, can you imagine the mental gymnastics? Living split between two identities like that.
Must have been immense pressure.
Totally. Cazes lived these two, completely distinct lives. Outwardly, in his day-to-day life in Thailand, he looked like a successful young tech guy. Confident, super wealthy, he had this extravagant lifestyle. Luxury villas, a fleet of exotic cars. He was known for flashing Lamborghinis around Bangkok nightclubs, had a beautiful Thai wife. Yet at the same time, he's meticulously keeping his secret identity as Alpha 2, never showing his face publicly, running a global criminal empire in total secrecy. What kind of immense psychological pressure would that create, constantly keeping those worlds apart, knowing one slip could bring it all crashing down?
That's a really deep point. And it feels like it's always when, not if, a double life like that will crack, Power, especially when it's gained secretly and through illegal means, it kind of subtly erodes you. The constant watching your back, the paranoia, just the sheer mental energy needed to keep that illusion going. Eventually, it's just not sustainable. History, whether it's ancient or digital, it consistently shows us that these double lives, they always leak. Eventually, the pressure builds, the cracks start to show, and it becomes more a question of finding that weak spot rather than wondering if one exists. It points to a kind of internal fragility despite the outward show of control.
And crack it did, yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest irony of AlphaBay really is that despite Cazes' brilliance in building this system for ultimate secrecy, ultimate resilience, the fatal flaw wasn't in the code itself, was it?
No, not at all.
It was, like you hinted, in that very human element, the one thing he couldn't code around. He, with all his genius, underestimated something more powerful than technology himself. He mastered the code, the encryption, the hidden structure of the dark web, but he couldn't master his own human mistakes.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It really is. He left breadcrumbs everywhere. This trail of digital markers that, looking back, seem almost unbelievably basic for someone that smart. Let's linger on these because they're so key to his downfall. The source code, right? The actual DNA of his multi-million-dollar digital empire. It had his personal signature, Alpha2, which investigators later traced back to an email address, cases@hush.com, that he'd apparently been using since he was a teenager.
Wow, that's basic OPSEC failure right there.
Right, and he also reused usernames and online accounts he'd set up way before AlphaBay was even a thing, basically left a digital trail from his youth straight to his criminal operation. And then the details of his flashy lifestyle, those Lamborghini pics, the villa detail stuff he couldn't resist posting online, even kind of indirectly, that raised flags, allowed investigators to slowly piece together who he really was.
It's such a classic case study in hubris, isn't it? Undermining even the most complex systems. In chasing this idea of being invincible, Cazes just exposed himself through these tiny oversights. Was it just arrogance? Thinking his code was so perfect it'd cover any human error? Or maybe, like some people think, some subconscious need for recognition, even if it led to getting caught. It's a really weird psychological paradox. This mastermind building an empire in total anonymity, yet making these basic security mistakes, reusing personal IDs. And it wasn't just one slip-up, it was a pattern. It really showed how much he underestimated that human element, him being the tech genius. And yet by 2017, AlphaBay it was too big, too loud, too impactful, couldn't be ignored anymore. That led to that massive international takedown operation.
Exactly. All that brilliance, all that meticulous planning, and it boiled down to a few human errors that brought the whole thing crashing down. By 2017, AlphaBay wasn't just some digital oddity anymore. It was a global force that had turned cybercrime into a full-blown industry. This triggered an absolutely unprecedented international effort. Our sources called it a war on the dark marketplaces. It involved this seriously impressive lineup of agencies: FBI, DEA, Europol, the RCMP in Canada, Thai authorities, all working together.
It's a truly global coalition.
Yeah, and the final act, the curtain finally came crashing down on Cazes' carefully built illusion in July 2017. Picture this: luxury Bangkok villa, right? The kind of secluded, fancy place a young tech millionaire might live, far from prying eyes. Suddenly the quiet is just shattered, fists pounding on the door. Thai police, acting on intel from that global task force, they raid the place. And Alexandre Cazes, the digital emperor who lived totally in the shadows, he's found inside. His fortress wasn't breached by some clever hack, but by cops at his actual physical front door. The second he was caught, that virtual empire just dissolved into the harsh reality of handcuffs and flashing lights.
Just like that.
Just like that. And what they found next was, well, incredible, really highlighting how complacent he'd become. Authorities seized computers that were still logged into the administrator accounts for AlphaBay.
No way, seriously.
Yeah. Think about it, after years of outsmarting global authorities, the digital keys to AlphaBay's empire were right there. In his hands, in his home, wide open. He was caught red-handed because of something so human, so vulnerable: complacency.
Unbelievable.
And it wasn't just the computers, the assets they seized were staggering. Real estate, luxury cars, crypto wallets worth hundreds of millions.
I know.
A mogul's life built entirely on shadows.
That image, the logged-in computers.
Yeah.
It's just so symbolic, isn't it? How even the sharpest minds can be tripped up by the simplest oversight, that human flaw. But then the story takes an even darker turn, doesn't it?
It does.
Just days after his arrest, Alexandre Cazes was found dead in his Thai jail cell. He was only 25 years old. The official report said apparent suicide by hanging. But, the question still lingered today about his death. Was it guilt? Fear of extradition to the U.S., facing life in prison? Or maybe something darker, more complex that we'll just never really know? This brilliant mind just extinguished in a concrete box thousands of miles from home. No trial, just silence. It's a really stark, chilling end to such a spectacular rise and fall.
And yet, the legacy of AlphaBay, it just persists, doesn't it? It's an unsettling reminder of how resilient the dark web is. Even after he died and it was shut down initially, we've seen copycat markets emerge, trying to take over that top spot in the dark web underworld.
Right, the vacuum gets filled.
Exactly. And even more amazing, AlphaBay itself actually re-emerged under new administrators years later. It suggests that these shadows in the digital world anyway, they never really vanish.
They just adapt, shift, find new hosts.
But Cazes' story, it feels much bigger than just AlphaBay's rise and fall, It really forces us to face some uncomfortable truths about the human condition, about this digital age we're living in. Technology, whether it's lines of code or some fancy app, it's ultimately just a tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can be used for liberation, innovation, connection, or it can become a weapon of destruction. It all depends on whose hands are on the keyboard and what they intend to do. Cazes definitely had the brainpower to build something extraordinary, but he channeled it towards shadows instead of light. So, was he a villain? A misunderstood visionary? A criminal? Or just a tragic victim of his own unchecked ambition and ego?
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe he was all those things at once. A complex reflection of our own potential for both good and bad.
His story isn't just about a criminal falling. It's a really profound case study in the dark side of disruptive innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Think about his genius for creating that super user-friendly, secure, efficient, anonymous marketplace. Features that, in AlphaBay, helped illicit trade. But he solved really complex problems. Trust, logistics, anonymity for a very specific market. What if that exact same talent for seamless user experience, for robust private architecture for secure payments, what if he'd applied that to, say, a decentralized secure data storage solution for journalists in repressive countries?
Interesting point.
Or a legitimate, privacy-first e-commerce platform designed to protect consumer data from corporate snooping? The very skills that made AlphaBay a nightmare for law enforcement could have made him a pioneer in the legit tech world. It really raises this critical point that the nature of the brilliance often matters less than its direction. He could have been celebrated, an innovator, maybe even a hero. Instead, he became a fugitive, a cautionary name whispered in digital crime stories. Knowledge is most valuable when it's understood and applied wisely, right? Cazes teaches us that genius without an ethical compass can become a weapon turned on yourself. Success built on lies might shine brightly for a bit, but it just can't last.
That's a really powerful observation. Yeah, his story just screams this simple yet profound truth. It's not enough just to be brilliant. The real challenge, the real wisdom, is figuring out how and where to apply that brilliance. The world doesn't have a shortage of brilliant minds, does it? But it desperately needs minds that channel that brilliance towards, meaningful, transformative goals that lift people up instead of tearing things down. So the question really, it turns back to us, to you, the listener. What are you building? With your own unique talents, your insights, your energy, are we chasing shadows? Something fleeting, maybe selfish, something that ultimately just crumbles? Or are we trying to create light? Something lasting, something meaningful, something that actually serves a bigger purpose?
Alexandre Cazes' empire crumbled because fundamentally it was built on darkness, on deception, on a basic disregard for the social contract, really. But his story also shines a light on the immense, almost terrifying potential inside every single one of us, the power to build incredible things, digital or otherwise. In the end, his empire wasn't just destroyed by law enforcement or outside forces, it was ultimately destroyed by his own choices, by his own reflection in the mirror. And it's in those choices, in that daily decision of how we use our own unique gifts, that's where the true empire lies. An empire lit by purpose, by resilience, and hopefully by integrity.